this is after a feed, so everything's messy, but I want you to kind of see my setup. So I would put my dry formula in here. So here's my dry formula. You keep most of it in the fridge or the freezer, and you take out a small container and use that as your base, and then just go get more out of the fridge or the freezer. It'll last longer if you do that. So I put my powder in my container. I also personally add a little spirulina. It's an algae. It has shown to have nutritional benefits for chicks, so that's why my formula is green and not brown. So you put the powder formula in here, and then I actually have a hot water dispenser, but the water comes out at 150 degrees, which is way too hot. So I put a little hot water in here, and then I add water and mix and test how thick it is. This is congealed, so it's a lot thicker now. Let me see if I can get the consistency where you would want it. This is a little too liquidy now. The longer it sits, the weirder it gets. And the larger batches, it's a little bit easier. This is a little too runny now. Anyway, so you add water to your formula. You mix it thoroughly. You don't want any hot spots, especially, you can heat the water in the microwave, but you got to mix it before you add it to the formula, because if there are hot spots, you're going to burn your chicks. So you add the formula, you mix it, you test the temperature. This is a digital thermometer, so you test the temperature. You want it to be between like 102 and 110. If it's hotter than 110, you will burn your chicks, and that is very, very bad. As the burn heals, it'll make a hole in the crop. It's not good. So it has to be below 110 degrees. Ideally, you want to feed it around 106. It cools down fast, though, and if you're feeding multiple chicks, this is going to chill long before you feed all of them. So what you do is you have some other way to keep the formula warm. In this case, it's a bath of warm water. So you float your formula in a water bath. This has to be the temperature you want to feed at, but since there's more water, it will go down in temperature a lot slower. So ideally you'd want this around 110 or so, and you float your formula in the water bath. You suck up your formula as needed. Always test each time, just in case this rose in temperature a little bit. Test before you draw up into the syringe. And feed. Another way to do it that I used to use was you get this at the exact temperature you want. You drop all the formula into the syringes, and then you put the syringes in the bath. And the syringes just wait for you to use them. And then at this, especially if you have multiple chicks, that way you're not double dipping. You just take your syringe, feed the chick, take the next syringe, feed the chick. But you need a water bath or some other way to keep the formula from dropping in temperature. If you have multiple chicks to feed, it just takes, it drops in temperature very quickly, and it has to be in that precise window. So that's my setup. If you are feeding a lot of chicks of a lot of different clutches, you really want to sterilize your equipment between uses. I've got technically two clutches right now. I've only got 3 chicks, so I'm basically just using soapy water to clean my stuff. Before I reuse these, if I decide to reuse these on a different clutch of chicks, I would sterilize them with a water bleach solution. Other people use different types of disinfectants, but I prefer bleach just because it's cheap. But these are also cheap enough you could just buy new ones for the next clutch. They get a lot of use, and these aren't really designed, they're meant to be single use, and breeders, we use them for many uses, so they tend to break down pretty fast. I had some single cc syringes that, like, I was feeding a day 1 chick, and they were basically used up. They were done after a day. I had to replace them because they were being used so frequently. So that's my hand feeding setup.